Welcome to Safety School, where we crunch down health, safety and environment learning into simple bite-sized snippets that you can use for your business or your career, helping you improve your knowledge, boost your performance and maybe even providing some inspiration. Let's get started. Hi there, welcome to this episode of Safety School. Hopefully you're getting some value from these episodes, and as we continue, we're going to expand out into different, more specialist areas, and that will include looking at common areas of high risk. And today we're going to walk through the step-by-step sort of decision-making process that the Health and Safety Executive here in the UK has scripted out for us to help us when we're deciding what sort of control measures we need to put in when we're working at height, because obviously it is one of the major areas where fatalities occur and serious injuries as well. So hopefully this audio version is something that you can come back to over and over again or share with your colleagues if they're going through that decision-making process when they're planning work. So really all this is doing is looking at the hierarchy of control and walking through it in a way that is appropriate for working at height. So the first thing we want to do is to consider whether we can eliminate the working at height in the first place. So therefore preventing actually getting up to any height of any significance and taking away that risk completely. Things you want to think about here are, if you're doing, for example, window cleaning, can you use extendable tools from ground level to remove the need for ladders or any other equipment to get you up to that level? If you're installing hardware or any sort of equipment for your buildings, it's a good question to ask, do we need to be placing them at a height? A lot of the time through the design process, someone will think it's a good idea to put an element of infrastructure at a height, but it's not always really necessary. So that's something that can be looked at and reflected upon, certainly in the planning process and then thereafter, in terms of if you want to make an improvement. Something else finally to think about in terms of prevention or elimination is, can you prefabricate whatever it is that you're going to do as much as possible at ground level, and then only keep that very last portion of the work for working at height? And taking that approach will certainly, if it doesn't eliminate completely your working at height, it will help you reduce it as much as possible. That leads us on to the second most preferable option here, which is preventing a fall from occurring. So rather than avoiding or eliminating the work at height completely, how can you work towards minimizing the risk of a fall from actually happening? Ways of doing this would include selecting where your work location is according to the existing collective control measures that are in place. So things like existing edge protection on a roof or a guarded mezzanine floor area, for example, if you're putting in equipment. You'll want to try and prioritize selecting these areas because they do have existing control measures in place. If you don't have that option, then you'll be looking more towards using the type of equipment that will prevent falls, such as MUPs or mobile elevated working platforms, scissor lifts. You'll also want to consider whether a fixed structure such as a scaffold would be appropriate, or in some cases you might want to think about using a mobile scaffold, depending on the type of work that you're carrying out. And finally, when you're looking to prevent a fall from occurring, you might consider some work restraint systems, which maybe tether a person to a roofing structure, for example, which then doesn't allow them to get into a position where a fall would be likely. That really rounds up the options when it comes to preventing a fall from occurring. And then moving on from that, you're looking to try and mitigate or minimize the distance and consequences of a fall. So once you've exhausted your options when it comes to avoidance of working at height or prevention of a fall, you'll want to start looking at systems such as fall arrest systems, industrial rope access systems, and also as either additional or standalone systems to mitigate the consequences and distance of a fall. You'll want to think about things like safety nets, soft landing systems, and so forth, which you would tend to see in things like high-rise construction projects where there's high numbers of people working in the vicinity of a significant fall risk over long periods of time. When you move beyond these types of systems, you're really only talking about the more low-risk, short-duration activities where ladders and step ladders can be a sensible and practical option in a lot of circumstances. A few things to remember here, and we will cover step ladders and ladders in another episode, is just to ensure that you're using the right type of ladder for the job. For example, does it reach the right height without putting anybody at risk? Are you competent, or is the person using it competent to actually deliver the work using the equipment? So have you provided the person with adequate training? Do they need help or supervision? And so on. Using the equipment properly and following an actual system of work or some form of method statement that has been looked at to include exactly what you're going to do or something that resembles closely what you're going to do is really a fundamental part, especially if you're carrying out a new activity or something that's significantly different from what's been done before. And that, of course, includes using new staff. Okay, that's it for our 5-minute walkthrough of the step-by-step decision-making process that you can use to reduce work at height. I will leave some extra resources for you on the podcast page that you can reflect on and refer to if you're planning working at height. So that's it from me in this one. Good luck and we'll see you next time. That's it for this episode of Safety School. We hope this was helpful. If so, please remember to rate, review and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts or Spotify. And remember, for more health, safety and environment help, you can visit us at safety.com. Until next time, take care.